Hello YouTube, it is Ozone, and today we're going to be talking about school innate traits. I know I had a previous video on it. We have gone over all of the topics, I've gone over all of your comments, I've really sat down and thought through what this is, what it should be, so I've revised some of my changes and we've added some content. So let's talk about this refined idea for school innate traits. So for those of you who have not seen my video I did briefly talking about this, I have an idea that KingsIsle should remove this healing in and out square here on this page and replace it with a school innate box. And this box is going to be unique to each school. As you can see on screen, I've asked AI to make kind of like a mock-up of how that would look and what exactly it entails. Now, in my last video, the idea was every school just has their innate, and gradually as the wizard progresses, that innate will gain strength and level with your character. Now, I have gone back and I've refined this a little bit. I've changed it. So, from level 0 to level 100, every school is going to have an innate. Like you can see on screen, it is going to be an innate specific to that school, and I will go over each of those innates in a moment. However, the new refined idea is after the wizard hits level 100, at the same point where they get their Darkmoor spell, their Dark Pip spell for the first time, that is going to unlock a secondary innate for the hero, and this secondary innate is far more advanced. As you can see on screen, this is what those secondary innates will be called. They will all have a unique name. They will all give the school more of a drastic change that really just exemplifies their own school. That'll make it fun to be a high level school in for whatever school you're a part of. I really want to hit home these innate traits, and today we're going to talk about them. Right off the bat, we are going to talk about life to start out with, similar to my last video. So my initial idea was life for their innate. So KingsIsle as a whole is going to remove this healing in and out trait, this trait right here. They should just remove it entirely, okay, for every wizard, because as I've said, the builds that revolve around this there's first of all, there are very few serious builds people ever build just for these stats, and they're kind of just viewed as like a bonus, like with whatever gear you're using. If it does have a bonus to this, sure, like why not? Anyway, the idea was to completely remove that, okay, and life's innate will be having a base 50% healing amp to all of the spells they cast, and that includes it when the heal hits themselves. Because right now, with the healing, with how it works with the outgoing and ingoing, it's a little finicky and weird. Anyway, it'll just be a 50% healing amp. That way, it keeps it simple. So life, for every heal they cast, they're more proficient at it, obviously, because they are a life wizard. They heal for their gimmick, so they should be more proficient at it. So that is life's innate ability from level 0 to level 100, okay? Now, I'm open to the idea of this 50% maybe upping by 10% every like 30 levels or something. So at level 100, you're at like 70% instead of 50, 70 or 80%. But that's not the main talk right now. I just kind of want to go over base traits. So let's talk about the new idea I have. So, after the wizard hits level 100, this innate trait is going to get a little arrow key, similar to what you see here. You click it, it takes you over to a page. This little box where it says innate is going to get a little arrow you can click over, and it will show you the secondary innate that you have for your school that is going to basically kind of change the dynamic of your school a little bit. It's just more of like a fun advanced trait that will give you some more incentive to really level, and once you hit level 100, it'll give you more of a reason to like feel prideful of your school. It'll be a fun change. Some of these are a little drastic, some of them aren't. A lot of these secondary innate traits I have, the more advanced innates, are actually pretty crazy. So obviously there might be some scaling involved, some balance changes. Let's go over what life's is going to be. So as you can see on screen, you're going to click the arrow key and you're going to see this School Innate Nature's Fury. So this ability makes it so with any damage you do as a life, whether it be AoE or not AoE, any damage that is done, it will auto cast a minor blessing upon you and all of your team. And that is not included. Well, the healing amp you have, it will be added into this minor blessing, and you can also crit on that. So it's basically a small way that life can still be supporting their team even when they're doing damage, because life's problem is obviously its damage is much less than pretty much every other school. So you don't normally want life to hit. But when life does hit now, even though the damage is less, you're still benefiting your team by helping them by casting a minor blessing. And this, when it minor blessing with a critical and the healing amp can actually be pretty considerable. It can usually be about 400 to 500 health per player. So literally casting any damage spell will auto trigger Nature's Fury, and it will cast a minor blessing upon all of your teammates. That is life's innate trait, so they get the healing boost, and then once they unlock Nature's Fury, they're just a very advanced, cool healer that can be helping their team, kind of in both ways. You can be doing damage and also slowly, or like, even though it's small, it's still healing your team. Next, we're going to be talking about Death. Similar to Life, Death kind of has a somewhat fleshed out identity. They're the kind of selfish school that just gains heals from damage they do and only heals them. And that's why I do like the level 100 innate for Life, because it kind of counteracts Death in a way. Death is, they do damage and they only heal themselves, while Life is kind of turning into a less powerful, they do damage and they heal their team. I do like that dynamic because Death is more of a selfish, bad guy school, and Life is more of a team player school. With that said, Death's innate trait from level 0 to 100, I believe, should be just making drains only heal themselves, like only heal Death is what I should say. So if another school casts Scarecrow or any of these drain spells, it'll still do damage, but it won't actually heal the wizard. Only Death can receive heals from their spells, because that is a Death trope, and I feel like that would strengthen their identity if they're the only school able to receive drains. I know that might upset some people, but that's just the way I believe it should be. So that's the 0 to 100 Death innate, is just making it part of the Death kind of the Death identity. Just receive only Death. Only the Death school can receive drains. So let's talk about the level 100 innate, and that is going to be called Grim Reaper. And this is going to make it so anytime you kill an enemy as a Death, if you deliver the killing blow on an enemy, assuming there are other enemies still in the game, if they're not, this won't happen. If you kill everyone with Scarecrow, this just won't happen. But if you kill one enemy and another enemy is alive, the enemy you killed will subsist as a ghost for 1 round, beguiled on your team. So they will keep the pips that they had when you killed them, and that spirit will subsist and help you in some way. Now, obviously, I honestly don't think this will cause too many problems. There's a rare scenario that you're stacking up on one enemy and you kill another one, and that enemy you killed stays beguiled and casts a damage spell on the enemy you've been stacking up and ruins your feints. There's a chance that could happen. It seems very particular, but KingsOwl could mess around with this and maybe just make it so the beguiled target stays and will just auto cast a feint onto a random enemy unit, something like that. Anyway, that's my idea for Death's advanced innate along with Death's innate. And let's move on to the next school. Next, we got ice. Let's talk about ice. I'm not doing this in any particular order, but my idea for ice from level 0 to 100 is going to be ice, kind of like ice armor for their innate. I explain it in the last video where you, as an ice, you're going to get a base 50% resist. And I know that sounds crazy, but this resist works a little differently than normal resist. It's actually going to be maybe like down here. They could rework this, and for ice, they just have a 50% across the board, and with every damage instance, it is going to chip away 10% of that 50% in each battle. So a battle, it resets to at 50% at the start of it, and every damage instance you take. Hey, this is Future Ozone, just jumping in to quickly explain a little more about this. So ice is going to have a base 50% chance that can be chipped away, in addition to their resist that doesn't change. They'll have resist given to them by gear that'll stay the same, and the 50% down here is additive to that gear. So like, for me, if I was an ice wizard, I would have 50% down here and 50% up here. I'd literally be immune the first time I'm hit, but every time following that, the enemy would gradually chip that down with every damage instance I take, if that makes sense. They keep their tanky identity, but it's just more fleshed out, I feel like. That way they're like, kind of like, you know, invincible early, and as the fight goes on, they get weaker, because that's kind of like what ice is, if you think about it. Ice is a wall, as I explained before. So let's move on to Ice's level 100 innate, the secondary innate that they're going to get, which I'm calling it Wrath of the Yeti. And what that does, it's a little crazy, but Ice starts a match, right? All of the enemies are auto-taunted to the ice. And if there's multiple ice, they'll just auto-taunt to a random one. They're all auto-taunted. And as ice, whenever you are attacked, you have a 25% chance to stun the enemy from level 100 on. And I think this just goes hand in hand with Ice's identity. I think it's great. I mean, honestly, King Zhao sleeps on stuns as is. A lot of bosses are immune to stuns, so this might not be a big deal. Maybe they could rework the bosses. I don't think it would be overpowered at all. I think it'd be cool, and I don't think it'd be game-breaking. So let's move on to the next one. So next we have Myth. And Myth, as I've said in the previous video, is going to obviously be controlling your minions with a side deck. I've gotten some backlash on this. I know it's 100% possible because they already have a kind of similar mechanic with your life auto casting, like with this will cast right here. That you have your pet choose to attack the enemy. That is literally a very similar mechanic that they would need just to control your minions with the side deck. Literally that exact same mechanic. Like, just see a few more spells on the side. You can click that and tell them to target this or target you with the blade, whatever, something like that. Super easy. That's Myth's innate 0 to 100 trait, okay? Now, after 100, Myth's secondary innate is going to be called VARDØGER, and I had to Google this because I guess it's like Nordic. Anyway, there is meaning behind it. Okay, I did choose this intentionally, but Myth's ability is going to be, now this might be crazy, okay, and let me know if you have a more balanced idea, but my idea was every time you start a fight, there is a minion spawned, okay, but the minion is basically a double of you, okay? Obviously their health is going to be severely nerfed, but they are going to basically have your exact deck, and they're going to be a minion that you control, so there's like, it's like a double, like a dark double of you that you start each fight with, and you can control them. So you essentially have two decks. You're kind of going at the, you know, you're kind of getting a double turn there in some ways, and maybe the double takes like 200% incoming damage, and has like a nerfed health pool, but I do think that is a crazy cool idea for Myth. Kind of spices it up. Let me know what you think, if that's too OP or not. We're moving on to the next one. Next, we have fire. Now, my original idea for an innate fire ability was a little different than the one I've decided is better. So my original idea was every time a dot from fire hits, the dot has a chance to basically like pop out another dot, kind of like how fire spreads. I've since rethought this. So the problem with dots in this game is that you can't easily, like, most of the time when you're stacking up a hit, it's just for one single hit, right? So you'll feint, you'll put on like either some other traps or a couple different types of feints, but you're kind of all stacking up for one initial hit. And like that's fine, and like I don't know if my proposed solution is gonna fix the problem with dots, because that is fire's problem, is like everyone just stacks up for one hit. It's hard to stack up for like 3 consecutive hits. So my idea was from 0 to 100, fire is going to have a dot amp. So damage over time amplification here. So similar to how healing life is with healing, fire is going to have basically an amplification stat that will increase the damage that your dot does every round. And initially I was thinking 30% per round, so it's like an extra trap, and then when it hits again, it's 60%, and then when it hits the third time, you know, it's 90%. And that, I think, honestly, that may sound OP to you, but I think that gives fire a good reason to not worry about stacking multiple feints, because you'll do a lot of damage over time. It'll make their kit more designed to set out a hit and then focus on shielding and protecting yourself while your spells do their damage and do their work. You just have to basically survive rounds and let damage do its thing. I think that's a great idea for fire. I think it sticks well with the idea that fire over time, you know, fire burns things and does more damage and gets stronger. I really like that idea for fire. Now let's talk about the level 100 innate trait. I'm calling it Icarus. I also think Phoenix is suitable for this. Basically, or Supernova, but there's already a spell called Supernova, so I was trying to think. But anyway, this innate after level 100 is basically just going to make it. Now, this might not be a great idea, but I'm still going to say it, and let me hear what you guys have to think. I think their level 100 trait should be, like I said, Icarus or Phoenix. If you die in combat, okay, this can be triggered once per, let's say once per dungeon or once per fight. If you die in combat, you're immediately born again with full health, and the enemies are like take a substantial amount of damage. Or take and a dot is put on all enemies. Is that too crazy? Is it not? I think it fits with the idea that a phoenix, you know, like becomes reborn when they die once. I think that's kind of a cool idea for fire. Gives them some more survivability. Could be a cool idea. Maybe not. Is it imbalanced? Is it not? Let me know. Now, we're going to quickly go over Storm. Storm is a pretty straightforward innate, both for the 0 to 100, and after that, from 100 to max. Both innates are pretty straightforward. They actually have 3 now. So the 0 to 100, also I just want to clarify in case you guys haven't caught on, the 0 to 100 trait innate stays active after level 100. It's not like this deactivates and activates your other one. It's just you get a secondary after level 100 to kind of spice it up. So storms, as I went over before, if King's Isle goes through and makes it so every spell, every school casting their own school can't fizzle anymore, just on base spells. Storm's downside, negative attribute, if you will, because it's kind of like a battery, right? They have a negative and a positive. Their negative will be they keep the 70% cast chance and do have a 30% chance to fizzle, just because they are the strongest school. They should have drawbacks more than just HP. Their positive trait is going to be damage gained, 10% at level 10, and then with every like 30 levels they gain an extra 10, so overall they just have more inherent damage from 0 to 100. And then after level 100, it will activate your secondary innate. I'm calling it TRITON'S Chosen, and that's basically just going to cheat cast a Dark Storm I think it's called Dark Storm. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. Dark Wind. Okay, so it's going to cheat cast a Dark Wind at the start of every bubble after level 100, just for you. Well, I mean, it's for everyone, but yeah, it'll cheat cast Dark Wind. And I think for some of these more game-altering ones, I do think I will give you a chance to turn it off. I think giving the player a chance to turn it off would be fair, but maybe similar to how you can kind of cross out, you know, these spells down here. Maybe it could be like a new category here that you can turn off or mess with. Yeah, it's just pretty simple, straightforward. Sorry, it's kind of boring, but that was just the best I could come up with initially, but maybe you guys can be more creative than me. I just, yeah. And last but not least, balance. I was thinking for balance, as I've said in the other video, their 0 to 108 is just going to be, they're gonna have to rescale damage and gear, but balance damage is universally applied across the board to all schools. You're gonna have a cap on it, so it's gonna be less damage than, you know, you're not gonna be better at one school than, you're not gonna be better at casting life than a life wizard is, or not better at storm than a storm wizard, but you're going to be a mediocre jack of all trades. And that includes balance pips. They go into every school, they work for every school, so that way you can kind of be like an avatar, casting all different kinds of abilities, very unpredictable, very fun, if you like that playstyle. And then for the level 100 and above trait, I was thinking of calling it Scales Favor, and this just kind of goes along with the lines of, as a balance wizard, you can kind of tip the scales in your favor, and you are going to basically cheat cast at the beginning of every round to make you go first in the fight. You can turn the randomized chance into more of a chance directed towards you. Maybe it's a 100% chance, maybe it's just an extra 30% chance to go first, if that'd be more balanced. But I just think that kind of goes in line with Balance's deal, that they, you know, are the mediators of balance, and they can tip the scales in their favor if they so desire. So let me know what you guys think about all of these suggestions. Which ones would be overpowered? Which ones would you like to see? Which ones would you like to see maybe just reworked a little bit? I am open, as always, to talk about them. I think this is just a better and more refined, to the point video. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Ozone. Please subscribe and comment whatever you think on this video. I would love that so much, and I will see you in the next video.